Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. This is Rapid Fire episode 43, where I'm going to talk about some old and recently, released news about wrestling's the world of wrestling, not just in WWE, but in other promotions also. And this one, the reason that some of this stuff might be kind of old is because I haven't done one of these for 2 weeks. Like I used to do sometimes two of these like within a few days because breaking news would keep happening and happening. I've been shooting some other videos and stuff like that, and quite frankly wanted to lump all this stuff in on one rant. And it's actually more just going to be me talking about it. I'm going to try and do less angry rants going forward. Only angry rants when needed. I want to try to be positive about some of this stuff. Like from ringsidenews.com, showed a few tweets, one from Hogan, one from Bischoff, one from Aries. And he sent out some fairly interesting tweets. I mean, Hogan sent out one the 9th, Aries sent out one the 10th, and Bischoff just sent out one yesterday. I'm actually recording this Sunday the 12th, but anyway. Hogan says, and forgive me if I read it off my tablet here, when it rains it pours, I will never say I'm bored again, business is getting crazy off the chain, better than ever, one more time around the block, thank you God, I am grateful, HH. Please don't get back in the ring for the love of God, Hogan. Austin Aries made perhaps the biggest decision of my life. 2018 isn't going to be gold. It's going to be platinum. Okay, interesting. I'm a fan of Austin Aries. I'm also a fan of Eric Bischoff, who just simply said, game just changed. Stay tuned. What could this mean? New promotion? I mean, I know Hogan got a lot of money from Gawker, but I imagine that doing another promotion wouldn't be a good idea. Hogan did do that whole Hulkamania tour back in 2009 that featured a good plethora of talent, but didn't exactly have packed houses, and had Hogan and Flair working in matches, which wasn't necessarily a good idea, in 2009. But what could this mean? Could they be joined up with the NWA? I don't think it's likely they're going to Impact Wrestling unless they suddenly decide to purchase the company, because Impact just made some changes itself. NWA, it could be a new promotion. I think they're going to work with the NWA. I think that's what it is. It's all pure speculation at this point, but needless to say, I am very interested in what is going to happen here, particularly with Aries and Bischoff. I give two shits about Hogan at this point. As much great stuff as he did for the world of wrestling, for the sport of wrestling, he also did some damage to it too. Now, a lot of that could be uncreative, but the whole point is you have these cryptic tweets and people are kind of piecing them together, which if you look at them sent out that way, yeah, they kind of do seem like they would go together. So I'm interested certainly. I don't think it's going to be revealed yet. It says 2018 game just changed, stay tuned. So okay, hopefully we find out in January what it is, because I am definitely interested in what this possibly could be. And another one, this is about Zayn and Owens. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens being sent home from the UK tour. Kevin Owens recently had some family issues, which is why he was sent home from the South American tour that they did. And people are saying this is not a work, that they were supposed to go feed the New Day and they didn't, and they just left, and that's why the end of the aftermath of the Sami Zayn Kofi Kingston match on SmackDown was really, really odd. And it would explain why Zayn and Owens have been booked a little weird and aren't part of Team SmackDown. But I think, maybe just my opinion, I don't know, I think this is WWE starting to work the fans a little bit with the internet and stuff like that. It's about damn time they started doing it. They've done it with a few things and stuff like that. But I think it's ultimately going to end up being a work. Whatever heat they might have or anything, I don't think it's going to last long. This is going to lead to Zayn and Owens screwing over Team SmackDown at Survivor Series. And then they could jump to Raw, be buddies, stuff like that. Raw could get another tag team, stuff like that. 'Cause I think Jinder's going to Raw, by the way. I don't see why he wouldn't, which will tie back in to something I'm going to talk about here in a second. But I don't believe if Zayn and Owens are not on TV this week for SmackDown, don't be too shocked. Maybe they're going to play it up. If they don't show up at Survivor Series, though, okay, then let's start to wonder. But I think they're going to be there at Survivor Series. They're going to screw over Team SmackDown somehow. Probably particularly screw over Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon could end up being one of the last people standing and could end up getting screwed over. And then you could have Sami Zayn versus Shane McMahon at the Rumble or something like that. I don't know. I think it's just going to end up being a work. It's going to end up working working really well. I think it's going to work out tremendously well, even if they have heat. I think things are going to look up. So until I hear otherwise, until I see concrete stuff that either they're suspended for 30 days or they've been, or they've been just fired. And I just can't believe for a second it's just over something like this that WWE would get rid of two great talents like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Whether you believe that these guys are long-term main eventers or not, they are really great money performers. And I think this is all going to turn out to be a work. So now we go to big news that happened recently, I think within the last week. Chris Jericho challenged Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 12. Or to a match at Wrestle Kingdom 12. He challenged him on a recent, right after a recent New Japan show. And Omega is like doing his usual promo and the finger gun thing and whatever. And I watched some of Omega, but I don't really care for his promos. He certainly has passion for the business. I won't debate that. But Jericho and Omega have been beefing back and forth on Twitter, which I was like, okay, maybe this is not gonna lead to Omega joining WWE because his contract isn't up until late January. But I said, maybe it's gonna be a work. Hey, maybe Omega could come in and they could angle for a match at Mania. Nope. Jericho, who's still under contract with WWE, I guess got permission to do this match. He challenged Kenny Omega at Wrestle Kingdom 12. Alpha versus Omega. That's a really good selling point. This may actually make it the first Wrestle Kingdom show that I'm going to actually order and watch live. Because I've seen the other Wrestle Kingdoms, at least the past few years, and I've been impressed with them. The performance level of the New Japan talents are second to none. Really, really good. From the older guys to the young up-and-comers to the established stars and stuff like that. Everybody works really, really hard. And the Japanese style has been one of my favorite styles for a number of years. So I'm really excited for Jericho versus Omega. I think that it will be I don't want to get to where I'm hyping this thing up. The promos will be tremendous, the back and forth stuff like that they do. At press conferences and stuff like that. And the Twitter rants they do. And they may even actually, post videos and stuff like that or whatever, saying back and forth stuff, which I think will be good. But let's not get it like this is going to be the greatest match ever. Let's let the match happen and then decide that. Because I say this, Jericho, as great a performer as he is near 50. Kenny Omega is arguably the best wrestler outside of WWE right now, or at least the most popular wrestler, as far as having the most focus on him because of his matches with Okada and being the first ever New Japan Pro Wrestling U.S. champion, which is a big deal to be the inaugural champion of a division. That's a big deal. It shows they have a lot of faith in Kenny Omega. I'm excited for Jericho versus Omega, Alpha versus Omega. I think it's going to be a tremendous match. But I'm going to reserve judgment on saying, it's already a match of the year candidate or this kind of stuff until it happens. But I have no doubt these two will tear the house down. Even Jericho at the age he is with all the years, and the mileage on his body, Omega is going to really, really do well. I am definitely stoked for this match. And this will do great business for New Japan. Is it a way to maybe get Omega to come to WWE? I don't think Omega should go to WWE. And unpopular opinion maybe, I don't think he should go to WWE. Stay in New Japan. Unless New Japan just doesn't offer him enough money and WWE just throws a shit ton of money, like about $2 million at him, which they shouldn't throw that much in Omega. Sorry, they just shouldn't. $1 million, sure. But Omega's got a lot of fans in New Japan Pro Wrestling and has helped ignite it. He hasn't been the only one that's done it, because there's been others that have been doing well. No, I'm not a fan of the Young Bucks. As I've said, if you guys watching this are fans of the Young Bucks, cool. I'm not. But that's fine. But there have been a lot of Americans that have gone over there and have done really well and have meshed well with the Japanese style. No, New Japan Pro Wrestling may not be everyone's cup of tea as a promotion, but I see why people like it. And I'm certainly a fan. What I watch, I am certainly a fan. And Jericho versus Omega is going to be a tremendous match. But let's hold off on hyping it up so much that our expectations aren't met. Because that tends to happen with matches in WWE, there were matches in WCW, there were matches in Impact that had that happen, matches in any damn promotion for years, for goddamn decades, before social media ever existed. There was a lot of hype for a lot of big matches, and some lived up to the hype, some got so overhyped that there was no way that the wrestlers could live up to it. But looking back on it, you could see why people thought it was going to be great, and it was. So, Alpha versus Omega, certainly a great hashtag. Can't wait to see it. And now we move on to, and I'm going to do some Impact Wrestling news, and I'm going to finish up with my thoughts on the Women's Revolution. And I'm going to stay away, by the way, I'll get to something else just first before that, but I'm going to stay away from all the Hollywood sexual assault stuff. I've already said my piece on Harvey Weinstein and a couple others. That was in another rapid fire that you guys can go back and watch. I'm going to stay away from that and do my best to try and be positive. Because I've had times where I've been negative on my videos. I don't try to be negative. I try to be positive. I try to help you guys by entertaining you guys, and I hope I accomplish that. I recently got some very, very good praise from various people who either just started watching my channel or watched my channel recently, and that helped me do these videos. I wasn't going to do videos today. I was going to just kind of sulk and everything because I had a bad day. But I'm going to do these videos. So anyway, now let's get to one more bit of WWE news. Triple H versus Jinder is apparently set for the India tour. Woohoo. Look, kudos to Triple H if he's going to try to get some talent over or whatever, because it's certainly something he didn't do for a number of years in WWE, like Booker T, RVD, and various others. Anyway, that aside, him, Regal, Dusty, I mean, even though Dusty's been passed on, his influence is still felt in NXT. Regal, Triple H, and various others are doing great in NXT, so I give Triple H credit for that, even if he still shows his favorites. Whatever. Triple H versus Jinder set for the India tour. Hey, fans are going to love Triple H over there. Jinder, less so, because it's just, even now, you're still trying to do this. If this is actually said and he's not going to be the champion, then I'm all for it. Because maybe they're realizing, oh shit, he shouldn't be the champion. We weren't exactly doing some great things here, so maybe we got to just let Jinder be Jinder, build him up, and then do something with him. Like maybe have him win the goddamn U.S. championship and do something like that when he gets a little better. I don't think he's going to get much better. He had a chance to get better, and he didn't. But Triple H versus Jinder ought to be kind of fun. I'll be right back, folks. All right, folks, thank you. Just a quick little break there for a second. Just had to drink something for a little bit. Throat's still kind of bothering me. So anyway, that's my thoughts on so far that kind of stuff. Now we get to a bit of Impact Wrestling news where Rockstar Spud's gone, the Hebners are gone, Earl and Brian Hebner, and James Storm is gone. And Bram's gone also. Okay, whatever. I'm sorry. Look, Bram, I'm not a fan of Bram. I'm just not. I'm just going to leave it at that. James Storm, though, I mean, he's, almost 40 or is 40? Will he come back to NXT? Because he was in NXT for a couple of appearances, and then he went back to Impact because they offered him more money, and that's great. That's certainly great, and I hope that he was able to provide for his family and everything. But now I wonder, is NXT going to bring him in? Now, if NXT brings him in, he could have a Cassius Ohno-like role where he'll get some wins, but he'll probably put people over. And I think that's probably a pretty good thing for Storm. Could we see a possible Beer Money reunion? Maybe. I don't necessarily know if we need to see that. Rude's kind of established his own character and whatever. But people are going to want to pop for it, maybe by, say, sometime in 2019. That's if Storm comes back to NXT. He could go to Japan and have a decent run. He can make indie appearances and do really, really well. I don't think he's going to come back to Impact. I don't think there's really any point. Impact is, of course, doing something like moving up to Canada. So that might be why they're cutting costs and cutting some talent. They're going to use local Canadian referees and people like that and whatever, which is fine. And I wish nothing but the best for Impact Wrestling in Canada. I hope Anthem, even though they've had to gut the Fight Network apparently, and they had some money troubles, hopefully keeping the costs low, running it in Canada, and doing that kind of stuff, they can build a really good fan base. Because everything in the U.S. is kind of scorched. And that's because even with all the name changes and stuff like that, they still have that rotting smell to them because of the TNA name. Because people are still always going to call them TNA. However, I want to give Impact a chance. Will it succeed in Canada? Only time will tell. But they can't keep taping like 12 weeks worth of programming and then do something like that. They can't do it. My understanding is they're taping a bunch of programming now that's going to run through, I think, January. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard. And I wish them nothing but the best. I hope the feuds, build up and everything. They can bring in more knockouts. They brought in a couple or whatever. I don't exactly remember. They had a few debuts and returns at Bound for Glory, which hopefully things can start to get on a more even path and Impact Wrestling can do better. I want to be positive about this stuff. So I'm going to wait until like an actual death nail comes before I start saying, well, the company's finally dead. Because people have been saying that since the promotion first started back in 2002. And guess what, folks? It's still around. I may not be the biggest fan of what it currently is, because I really can't stand Josh Matthews on commentary. But for loyal fans and everything, I wish you guys nothing but the best and hope this promotion succeeds. I still am a fan of the older Impact Wrestling and have a bunch of DVDs that I will do retro reviews of possibly in 2018, 2019, and I hope you guys enjoy those. But anyway, I wish Impact nothing but the best and hope that it does well in Canada. And maybe they can tour some cities, on the border, the US-Canadian border. And, tour that kind of stuff. Maybe do some in Washington. If they do some in Washington State, guess what? I'd be all for it. If it was in a city like Bellingham, which is only about 25 miles from the Canadian border, means the BC province, they would have to travel a bit. I'd be for it. I would go. If they did something in northern Idaho, I would go. Seriously, I would give it a shot. So I hope that Impact Wrestling does very well. Now, I'm going to finish up with this. Because this was sent out by NoDQ.com. And others have said it. And they've said it for a number of years. Back when I was doing videos on Ustream and uploading them to YouTube and the video and audio was the video was a little glitchy, but you guys still enjoyed the rants, I put up how the Divas Revolution had failed. And this was back before they named it the Women's Revolution. Has it failed? It's failed in a creative sense. It has not failed for a lack of trying with the talent. The women have worked their asses off. Charlotte, Sasha, Bayley, Emma, unfortunately, the recently released Emma. Again, Charlotte has worked. Natty has worked hard. Carmella's improved. Carmella's not great, but Carmella's improved. Lana, to keep her out of the ring. Sorry, she tried. It didn't work. Put her as a manager. Tamina, not necessarily. The whole point is that they have Asuka. They have a bunch of women that are doing really, really well. Alicia Fox is finally getting some chances to show what she can do in the ring, she's been a really good in-ring performer for a number of years. A lot of people forget that because they've been kind of using her as arm candy. She was like the 205 Live Bicycle at one point, and that was ridiculous. And that's not me picking on Alicia. That's how they actually booked her. But you got to go back to what they were doing with the whole women's revolution. One, Paige and Emma started that. Because now nothing against AJ Lee. AJ Lee was doing very, very well. On the main roster, she was doing fine, but didn't have the best talent necessarily to work with. Emma and Paige started it at NXT Arrival. Which, by the way, at some point I will be reviewing every single NXT TakeOver event. Well, from Arrival up to... up to this one. I might actually even wait until the Royal Rumble one happens, so it's like about 4 years of it. And I'll come up with a nice round number, and I'll, talk about which ones are the best, which ones are the worst. But anyway, the creative has failed the women. Because they always promote something like for the first time ever, or first time ever women's Hell in a Cell match, first time ever women's Fall Count Anywhere match main event, something like that. First time ever this, first time ever that. First time ever women's Money in the Bank match, ladder match, it was won by a fucking guy. Anyway, and I'm sorry, that I get why they did that, and I did laugh at the thing, but looking back on it, it was a terrible idea, because they redid the goddamn match 2 days later, realizing that people weren't going to necessarily care for it. I personally laughed at it, but they needed to use the women better. The women's revolution, the women have not failed. I want to say that much. Even though Dana Brooke is trying, I don't know if Dana Brooke's future is... I don't know if Dana Brooke is necessarily going to last as an in-ring performer. She might, and I know she just recently lost her boyfriend, and thoughts do go out to her. That is honestly terrible. I mean, I know that was a number of months ago, but still terrible. The one wild card is Nia Jax, who I've really tried to cut some slack to, but it's not working. I mean, there's one thing to book her like a monster, but people say, oh, they booked her like a monster and this kind of stuff, and it's working. I said, well, here's the thing. They booked Awesome Kong like a monster, and it worked. And I'm talking Impact. I mean, WWE did it for a bit, and then she got pregnant. But WWE kind of dropped the ball with her. The problem is Nia comes across as entitled often. Now, does she speak well for plus-size women in wrestling? Sure. But to me, and I mean, this is from... To me, there are others that speak better for different-shaped women. I was hoping that WWE would sign Piper Niven. I was impressed with Sage Beckett, who was the former Rosie Lottalove in Impact Wrestling, has lost some weight, but is still... I don't want to say shapely is a bad word, but she's, because there's nothing wrong with that, but she's tall and she's not super, super thin. There's nothing wrong with being super thin. If you're super thin but you're athletic and you can go in the ring, that's what matters. There's a really, really good wealth of talent in WWE. But the thing is here's why WWE's women's revolution, here's why the WWE women's revolution has failed. Because you got to think about what Impact Wrestling did. A number of years ago, Bound for Glory 2007 specifically, is where they started their Knockouts division. How great was that stuff? They had a really, really good amount of talent there. They had Gail Kim, Roxy Laveau, Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. I mean, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Angelina Love, but whatever. And Velvet, never was really a fan of Velvet. That's fine if you guys are, though. The whole point is they had others. They had Awesome Kong, who was a great monster. Christy Hemme got in the ring and had a bit of a go. That didn't work really well. Tracy Brooks was in the ring for a bit. That didn't work. Just because she tried, but it just wasn't great. But they had women that they built with. They had Jacqueline Moore wrestle for a little bit there. Gail Kim and Jacqueline Moore had a great cage match at Lockdown 2007, which was really fun. It was short, but it was fun. But you gotta think about how women were used in Impact Wrestling before. Trinity was doing freaking moonsaults off of high places. She was doing well there, and they used women in other places, but Trinity in particular is someone that often gets forgotten about. Impact Wrestling did a lot of really great things with their Knockouts division for years, while WWE, even though they had some good talent like Mickie James, Victoria and stuff like that, who both went to Impact Wrestling, they seemed to flounder with a lot of the matches and putting women on TV that had no business being in the ring. Maybe not on WWE TV, but they had no business being in a wrestling ring. Now, I don't believe that the women's revolution talent-wise has failed, but I believe creatively they failed. We've been in this experiment for like 2+ years, and I'm sorry, if you're a fan of the Bellas, fine, but the Bellas were a main problem with it. Now, was that their fault, or was that just how they were booked? It's arguable. They could have played a power stroke because of who they were dating, who knows. But the whole thing with Nikki Bella being the champion didn't work. It was just to spite AJ, and AJ ended up quitting. Paige is forgotten about as being somebody that did really well. Like it's like going back to the whole Paige Emma thing. They did well. A lot of women are really, really working hard. Have worked hard for a number of years in other promotions, but have gotten to show it on a bigger stage in WWE. And I keep hoping the talent is going to rise to the top and do well. One, they need to stop treating Charlotte like she's the second coming of Jesus. As good as Charlotte is, I'm sorry, let's pump the brakes a little. Let's give all these women a chance and let's see what they can do. Except Nia, I think the ship has kind of sailed on Nia. And Lana in the ring, no. But anyway, that's what I gotta say. What do you guys think? Do you guys like what I had to say about these topics? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin, and I will see you all soon.